Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's a Sunday, and we're live. The bar is open on a Sunday. It's not normally open on a Sunday, but when special things happen and you can get special people involved, you got to open it. Somebody's passing through, everybody needs to wet or whistle at some point and need to belly up to the bar, get down for an opportunity to have a chat. So we had that opportunity probably now. It feels like, well, I guess this one wasn't too long ago. Normally, it takes a little while for me to get some folks on because we're booked out. But I got a message from a gentleman said, "Hey, I need you to check this band out. I need you to hear them. You got to check this out and tell me what you think. And if you like it, let's bring them on." And I said, "Well, let me take a listen here. I like guitar rock. I'm a guitar guy. I can't luckily play the radio most days, so I'm not a musician in any way, shape, or form. I can run my mouth. I'm good at that. So we had this opportunity to have at least one member of the band, Sound and Shape. And that's, if you look them up on any of their social media, it's the word "end" inside of there. So it's at Sound and Shape. You'll find them Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, OnlyFans. I don't know about that. I made that part.
We actually pay you to subscribe to our OnlyFans.
Look at that, Ryan. Yeah. We'll get Ryan right. And we have the lead singer, because at first they were saying, "Hey, you're going to get somebody that hangs out with the band," and I was like, "Is that the drummer?" I could have got that one. But no, we have the lead singer of Sound and Shape with us tonight. Ryan, thank you for bellying up to the bar with us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
We all need a little bit of applause, even if it's canned applause. But new album, we don't have a drop date on the album yet.
We do, I just can't say.
Okay. There's a lot of undercover brother action going on here. Ryan has been letting me know. This is probably, for me, the single most professional, this is going down, you need to pay attention to what's going on situation with any band or any person really, like group wise, that I've dealt with, where it's like, "Hey, make sure that you don't share this before the opportunity arrives. Make sure that we're not putting that out." Because normally most people that I deal with are like, "Thank you for talking to me. I so appreciate it. If you'd like, I'll even give you my mom's phone number. She'll tell you I'm a good person." But you guys are like legit ready to make this happen. So, brother, thank you for bellowing up to the bar with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's great.
So we have an opportunity. I do have 16 seconds of the new song.
Yeah.
I am allowed to play that, right? Like,
yes.
I'm going to make sure that nobody's going to come kick down my door here in a moment. So we're good there, right?
Yes. Very good. Plus our manager, Alex, he's a tiny guy anyway. So
hey, little feller.
Yeah.
They're dangerous. Look, like dynamite, small packages.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's go ahead. And is this the opening to the song? Like, because I'm curious where I kind of hear, can I say the name of the new? I said the name of the new album many times. Disaster Medicine. I've said it like, I put that on all my social media. That's okay, right?
Yeah, that's fine. You're actually the first person to put that out there.
Am I? That's right, bitches. We are exclusive. We are exclusive. Well, that's the way it was presented to me. It's like the album's called Disaster Medicine. So Disaster Medicine is the album.
Yep.
The song, I can say the song, right?
Yeah.
I've never had I want to make sure that I'm not getting cease and desist orders like my poor little podcast. Like all 4 of my listeners are going to be run off. Like
no.
Can't listen to Murph no more. But we also have the song is called Sugar the Pill. I'm curious, can we at least say what the theme here is after this is over and get into a little bit of that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it.
So here, now is this the opening? Is this the middle of the song? Where are we at with this? So I know.
This is the first part.
All right. So here we go with the exclusive on the Above the Bar podcast. Sound and Shape, Sugar the Pill. Nice. So now that's all you, brother. Where are you at in this? Like, are you
You're
frozen?
freezing a bit.
I'm freezing. You're freezing. Are we all frozen? We did one song and see, I knew
You're
the
frozen.
lawyers were going to come get us. You're frozen, or am I frozen?
Oh, there.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so you're frozen on my end at this point.
Yeah.
But as long as you keep talking, who cares? Here, let me try to see if this works. I'm going to pull you back and then stick you back up. Let's see if that worked. You still there, Ryan? Oh, well. So I can't see you right now. It's froze out.
Hopefully I'm not making some goofy face.
It's okay. It's something like your finger was up by your nose. It's fine. Look, you're unfrozen. As soon as I said that, it unfroze you. So, Disaster Medicine, Sugar the Pill. We're just gonna go back and forth with frozen and unfrozen, frozen and unfrozen. So Disaster Medicine, Sugar the Pill. What's the? I'm hearing a theme, but is this where does this whole album come from? Because we were talking about this before. This is your fourth like no shit studio album.
Mm-hmm.
So where is the theme behind this one coming from for you?
So it's kind of, I mean, like our first couple of records were straight up concept records. This one definitely wouldn't call it anything like a concept record, but it's definitely got a bunch of themes running throughout all the songs. Like time is a big one, like how we use it, how we interact with time itself, like what is time, how it affects us and how it drives us, how it moves us. It's there are songs on it that could be partly political. There's songs on it that are a lot of it is about relationships, but not like romantic relationships. Just sort of.
We're not going full Adele here, where
no,
like
no.
Oh, my heart's broken.
No,
not that far.
No, it's more just a person. I guess the protagonist of all the songs, like how their relationship with the world at large, whether it's their friends, their family, their job, their how they see the world, all that kind of stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, it's definitely the most. I mean, I know the word mature and rock and roll don't go together very well, but like it's the most.
But it can. I mean, your music's going to change and mature.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, so with this being your fourth album, how long have it's you, Pat, and Ben, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, how long are you all three the original members? Always been the three of you? Like,
no, I'm the only original member at this point. Ben and I have been playing together for about almost, I guess 4 years, almost 5 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess like a little over 4, and then Pat joined just a few months after him.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, not to like, I am still friends with most of the guys that have been in and out of the band, but I kind of wish this lineup just like it feels correct, not that
I get it.
Not that any of the other ones didn't feel good at the time, but it's like, the first time Ben and I rehearsed together, it was just kind of like, like there was a real sort of like more than just like a musical connection, but like a power there, like when it's more like when the sum is more, than the parts. For
it
really
made sense right away.
You
guys knew what each other was playing, how each other was playing,
mm-hmm.
and you just picked up on each other's rhythm right away.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
See,
and then Pat joined it was great. And then Pat joined and it was just kind of like, all right, it feels good. And then it's been like there's been more growth in the band between then and now than the previous like 10 years. So
I'm digging that. I love the fact that for you guys, you've got that vibe and that feel right away. So now with your music, and I'm kind of curious. As soon as you said this is the most mature, so I'm going to make this left here for a minute. So when you first, so how old is the idea of Sound and Shape?
um so it's kind of hard. Well, it's not kind of hard. It's just long to explain. I played in another band around town called Oliver's Army for a long time.
And where's town at?
Nashville.
Oh, look
Nashville.
at you, fancy pants. In Music City.
Yep, yep. And we were doing, okay in the scene. It was the early 2000s scene, and uh, we went through a couple drummers. And the last incarnation of that band, we got into a lot of more like King Crimson, like more out there kind of stuff.
Right.
And nobody got it at all. Like the stuff that we were doing, like our fan base we could pack out a 200 cap club on like a Tuesday to like 30 people on a Friday because half of our set was whale noises, Um, and so like our bass player at the time decided he was going to go to college. So me and the drummer really liked playing together, and we are like, all right, let's kind of take this idea and see what we can do with it. And so we got a couple other players, and we kept on as that band for I think about 6 months, and then we were like, we should just change the name because the nature of the music is so different. Um, and then so Sound and Shape, we did our first record before we ever actually like played shows as Sound and Shape.
Okay.
And we had booked our first tour for like 2 months later. So it was crazy. It was something crazy like that. And we did our first record. We actually did it in New Jersey, um, in 8 days, and we had no place to stay. We stayed with a friend in Brooklyn for a few days, but trying to get from Brooklyn to Paramus at 10 in the morning is like,
Yeah, no.
you have to leave at like 4 in the morning to try to get there. We stayed in the van outside of the studio a couple of nights, and yet we were still late somehow. And then we just like toured and toured and toured like crazy. I mean, like, and we had no infrastructure at that point. We had no management, we had no label, we had no booking agent, we had nothing.
So how are you getting any gigs or anything at that point? Like, how does that work? Is it just, hey, we're going into Baltimore, we're going into, wherever, call every club that we can find on our iPhone 1 and see what happens.
Well, this is even we didn't even have cell phones at that point. I remember we would have to go to libraries and like check our email.
You go to the library and check your MySpace.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And it was all my
five. All right, who was in your five? Ryan, who was in your five? Who was in your five?
Oh, definitely whatever band members he had at the time. And probably whatever girl I was trying to hang out with.
That's how you can tell how old you are, is when somebody says, "Who was in your five, man?"
Yeah.
Remember when people would say, like, "Bro, I thought I was in your five."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
I had to take you out. This chick I was trying to meet.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. But so my drummer and I booked everything, and we just kept going and kept going. And it was, I mean, looking back on it, like there were definitely pros and cons. Like it taught me like I can take anything on the road now. Like anything that you can possibly think would happen happened to us during those years. So I can, I'm pretty easygoing on the road now. And it's also made me appreciate like how good we have it now. I mean, we're not a big band by any stretch of the imagination, but the last, I guess, 3 years, because 2020 doesn't really count. We've been opening up for bigger bands, so we're playing nicer places. It's bigger crowds, and we have dressing rooms, and there's catering, and it's just like it's really
catering and dressing rooms, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like super special, but it's.
But I get it. No, I get it.
To a guy who spent 280 days out of the year for a couple of years, like eating, bread on bread and sleeping in the back of a hot van. Like it's just like
Ham
I always
sandwiches.
yeah, I always try to like really like take it in and enjoy it and appreciate it for what it is.
No,
Um
you
and it
should.
yeah. So yeah, we
That
just toured like crazy, and kind of members came and went, and seemed to be a lot of bass players. um
like so I told you I can't play any instrument, but I
mhm.
feel like there's like a level to like I can't play here, sit here and do this. That there's certain like obviously lead guitar, rhythm guitar, there's a skill set inside that. There's
Yeah.
finger motions,
Mhm.
and unless drums, you have to be able to keep some sort of semblance of each hand doing its own thing for the
Yep.
most part.
Mhm.
But unless you tell me your name is Les Claypool, I don't know about a bass player. Like,
No, it's one of the dark arts of being a musician, man. Like bass players are like a good bass player. It's like a deceptively complicated kind of thing, because good bass player is like, it's almost about knowing when not to play as a bass player,
so
because
like jazz, it's not about the notes you play; it's about the ones you don't.
kind of, but like if you listen to like one of my favorite bass players of all time is Gary Talent in Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
Okay,
um, because he's so percussive. It's about the space in between the notes more so than playing a bunch of notes. Like him and the kick drummer just locked in all the time. And but then again, like one of my favorite bass players is also Geddy Lee, who is all over the place.
right.
So it's, I mean, Rush is a completely different band than
Well,
anybody,
well,
but
Rush takes what 15 years in between each album because they everything must be at the level of perfection that
yeah.
is just unbelievable. That like
Mhm.
that, they're a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
I watched a whole documentary about them, and I was like, "This is insanity." You
Mhm.
know, whether like that note's not right, and I'm sitting there going, I, "I don't, I know I'm not a musician, but I can tell the difference between this and that, and I don't hear shit different." And they're like, "That's
Yeah.
like, do you ever find yourself like with making this album compared to your earlier stuff where you said, "Hey, 8 days we banged out a whole album in New
Mhm.
Jersey," running back and forth between anywhere you could lay your head,
Mhm.
compared to here we are 4 albums deep. Sounds like probably at least 15 years in between those 2 albums. You
Mhm.
know, where has that in your process? How has that changed for you? Because obviously people have changed. You're the only consistency in it. I mean, let's call it what it is. Ryan, you are sound and shape at the heart of that because you've been doing it. But how has that changed for you in the process of making an album? Like if somebody said to you today, "Hey, we got 8 days with this studio in Hudson, New York, or in Nashville in some historic location," would you do it?
Yeah, yeah, especially with these guys. I mean, um, and I mean, what you were saying about me being sound and shape, like, I guess, like, I mean, yeah, I write the songs and stuff, but to me, like, they wouldn't be what they are without Ben and Pat. Um,
I'm not taking nothing from them, but I'm just saying, like, you've been there
yeah,
since
yeah,
the inception. That's what I'm saying. Let me
yeah, yeah,
correct myself.
yeah, for
Like,
sure,
you're
for
there
sure.
since the inception.
Yep, yep. And this record was it was actually a lot different, because normally, um, you know, we all have, or I've had a day job, this whole time. And like, the way my brain works is when I'm doing like, mundane tasks or driving or something, that's when all the ideas will pop in. And before, I would just sort of have to collect them. And whenever I could sit down, figure it out on guitar, go, this doesn't work with this works with this, write down a couple of lyrics as sort of placeholders, and then kind of go back and refine as I had time. Um, and then I have a son. I have an 8-year-old son who takes up a lot of
Oh, kids.
time.
Oh, I
um,
have many parasites also at my home. Parasites of the wallet. And there's our
mhm.
buddy Media by Dibs. And I Dibs, I thank you for I went right into everything without. See, I was so interested in this in the music piece because I find it's so I didn't even do any of our housekeeping. I
Oh
skipped
shoot,
right
sorry.
over. I skipped right over. Look, we went right. Dibs. I'm so glad you jumped in. Did you get to see all the pictures that were up for you guys this week on any of the social media?
Yes, yes.
That's all Dibs. Media by
Oh, cool.
Dibs. He does all of our media, and I tell everybody, you know, he puts together a great deal. He sponsors us and everything. If you're looking to upgrade your media, and look, Dibs, we're halfway through the show. This is actually the sweet spot, even though I jumped into everything and it's completely on me. But if you're looking to upgrade your media, make sure that you look up Media by Dibs. And if you mention Belly Up to the Bar, he's going to give you 10% off your first session and a free consultation. And if you mention anything to Ryan Belly Up to the Bar, he's going to just look at you and go, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Please step away from me.
No.
Yeah.
I've had people say worse.
So now you kind of hinted at this. Now, what is can I ask what the date are you? Let me ask this because we talk about are we okay with saying what the day job was?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had actually I haven't had that many. For the last 10 years almost, I worked at a restaurant. I was a kitchen manager. We had two different locations, so I was the kitchen manager over both of them. And it was cool. Like they were cool with me touring and stuff. And I started that job right before, like a month or two before my son was born. So touring obviously slowed down a bit um,
Now you're
when
touring
he was
now,
born.
right? Or you guys are
Uh,
getting ready to tour, right?
Next year should be a lot bigger. This year we had a bunch of dates in October that got moved. We were going out with King's X again,
Nice.
and that those got moved to next year. But we're figuring all that out right now, just like everybody else.
Is there
So
any? So I know there's a lot of different. Like I can remember. God, who the hell did we go see? I remember going to see somebody like the. I was a kid, and I'll tell you how
mhm.
long ago this was. I was like a kid, like 10, 12 years old,
Mhm.
and we saw the Beach Boys at Merriweather Post Pavilion in Baltimore, and I think it was the Beach Boys. And the opening act, everybody's like, "This guy's weird. I don't even understand his music. He kind of sucks." It was Chris Isaac,
Oh wow, yeah,
which turned out to be a big giant artist.
yeah,
A couple of years later, um, is there any? But their musics didn't match. Do you
right,
ever feel like have you run into that? So those are things I always find interesting with bands when it's like if you like I love the Counting Crows. I've seen
hmm,
Crows multiple times and their opening acts seem to match with them,
yeah,
in a similar style. Like I saw what's her name? Sarah Bareilles. I think that's how you
yeah,
pronounce
yeah,
it. I saw her with them. Have
yeah.
you ever been matched or felt like, why on God's green earth am I opening for a ska punk band that, in the middle of their show, they get into a straight guar style thing, but they actually open up the jugular vein of a sheep. Like, have you ever
Right.
been like, why am I here? Why are we opening for this crowd?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. We actually at a show in Maryland once,
Nice.
in Cumberland, Maryland.
Oh, out in the boonies
Yeah,
where the
I don't
men are men
remember.
and the sheep are scared.
Yeah, this is long, long before we had an agent, and I remember showing up to the show, and it was all like gutter punk bands and us. And I remember saying to my drummer, I was like, "We're gonna get stabbed in the parking lot before we leave here. Like, just let's just play and like and the crowd loved us. Like they went ape over us. It was great. And we like I don't know if you listen to any of the back catalog or anything, but like aside from being a rock band, it's kind of hard to pin us down. Like we're not a metal band, we're not a punk band, we're not a prog band. So we tended to get put on a lot of pretty diverse bills through the years, which can sometimes be good and sometimes be bad. Like on paper, we probably wouldn't really fit with Fishbone, but that was a great show.
I love Fishbone.
Yeah, they were
Such a
great. They
great
were
band.
amazing. Um, so it's nice. it's nice to be on diverse bills, but we've definitely played like metal shows where people are just like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, because we're melodic and there's pretty parts and stuff, and some
Right.
people just want to slam into each other, and it's that's cool. There's a place for that as well, but so we're a little more like selective about stuff we play with now, just cause
And you can be now, it sounds like you
yeah.
have that more as an option that in those early days. And I get that, like, even doing what I do today, um, I've been podcasting for about a year and a half coming up on, and I think I'm even more selective now. Hey,
Mhm.
I don't know if this person's the right guest for me, or,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I love, so I'm going to get even more nosy. So how
Sure.
old are you, Ryan?
Me?
Yes.
uh
No, no,
uh
the other Ryan.
I'm 39. I'm 39 for another 2 months, and I hit the big 40.
Big
So,
4-0.
mhm.
It's not that bad. It's not that
Yeah,
bad.
I don't feel 40, whatever that means.
Thank you. You're playing rock music and getting ready to release your fourth album with
Mhm,
an 8-year-old going out, possibility going out on tour,
mhm.
like soon here. Like, why would you ever, like, that's amazing. It keeps you young the entire time and
Yeah.
creating new music. At the
Mhm.
same time, you've seen a rotary dial phone, you
Yeah.
know, you know, you're
Mhm,
right on the cusp in like 81. Like, you're
mhm.
probably like, you remember the big MacBook that was like the single
Oh yeah.
greenback computer thing? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
You remember those.
Yeah.
So, and I asked that because, like, were you always a musician? Were you a latecomer
Mhm.
to the music world, as far as, like, you were 25 and trying to, or I should say 18 in college, and like, man, I'm not picking up chicks anywhere here. Let me go get this guitar and learn every song, like, just strum away. What's the one? Hotel California. I'm just gonna learn Hotel California and play
No.
just that.
No, I was my mom always says that I was born with a guitar in my hand.
Wow.
I My dad is an incredible singer. He grew up singing gospel music. It's my family background's really strange, um, but he grew up singing and then joined rock bands in the '70s. And he when I was born, we moved back to New York when I
What
was a
part?
couple months old. Long Island.
Okay.
He lived up in Cortland for a while too.
Nice. I know Cortland.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But he did, he was doing records and stuff with different bands, and so I was just around it all. Like, one of the my favorite stories to tell, I might as well tell it here, was I was in upstate New York in Cortland, or maybe his studio's in Ithaca. I can't remember. It's in one of the two.
They're
Um,
close enough to each other.
yeah, my dad was working on a record, and in the studio next to the one they were working in, there's this band called Stormtroopers of Death, which is a couple of the guys, or which is Scotty Ian from Anthrax and a couple
Yeah.
other guys.
Yes, I was about to say
Yeah. And my dad had to leave this.
STD, the
Yeah,
original.
my dad had to leave the studio for whatever reason. I'm not going to ask. I was there with him while they were working. I was like 3 or 4, and so he asked the Stormtroopers of Death to watch me for like 20 minutes while he ran out. So I was just kind of always around music, and I started out wanting to be a drummer when I was like 4. I asked my parents for a little drum set, and they bought it for me, and then I got a little piano, and then I think I was like 5 or 6, and I got my first guitar. It was a Toys R Us guitar that had a little speaker built into it for an
Yes.
amp. Um, and I got that when I was 5 or 6, and then my first grade teacher um, played the Beatles album "Help" one day in class. Like, he used to put records on while we were reading, um, and I, like, my head just shot up, and I was just like, "What is this?" And I went over to the record player, like, not even paying attention to what I was supposed to be doing, and like grabbed the cover to the record and was like, "I need to know everything about this now."
Really?
Um, yeah, and so I went home and I was like, "Mom, I need you to go out and buy me some Beatles albums, just whatever. And to her credit, she called my aunt and had my aunt go out and buy me um, some Beatles tapes. And from then on, it was just music, 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 and it's pretty much been that way. My son has inherited my habit of getting really obsessed with whatever I'm into. So like anytime I find a band that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get into this band, it's like I read everything I can. I listen to the catalog like multiple times, and I've literally been like that since I was 6. So um,
Wow.
yeah, I was just I've always been around it and always done it. It's like songwriting is basically like a compulsion now. It just kind of happens.
See, that's wild to me. So, um, you heard our opening music.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of my longest and closest friends, Jim and Marisa. I've known. Well, they were dating when I was 14, and they were a couple years older than me, and
Oh,
we
wow.
just happened to be in. It was a very mixed bag crowd that we were into, and they were older than I was, but their son Jay wrote that music for me.
Oh, cool.
I was like, Jay, I need an opener for my show, and he's like, okay, and he wrote it. And like I said to you, I don't. So I sang in high school. So, with this, you hear this silky sound of this voice, and a pure, and I've lost much of my Baltimore accent, but it's still there. So
I could
if
hear
you
it.
can imagine, if you imagine this voice singing, doggone, what we're just talking about this Phantom of the Opera,
Uh,
hearing this voice singing that's a whole nother level.
mm.
But I reached out and I was like, Jay, I need theme music. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm curious if you're this way also, because Jay is a savant with music, like the kind of person where you can say to him, like, and he's done it. People will bring up instruments and be like, here, I play this. And Jay will go, I've never played it. And you hand it to him and he listens to you, and then give him about 10 minutes, and he can now play the thing.
Mm.
He's one of those kind of people. But when it came to this opener, he played it and it was like, dun, 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 dun. And I was like, Jay, at the end, I need it to be like this. And he goes, okay. And he goes, here you go, Sean. And it was just like, I'm like, God, son, I just went, no, but I wanted to be like, dun, 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 like I said something. I don't fucking remember what it was. And he was like, boom. Is that how music is for you? Or is it the other side of it where you're like, I love it. This is my passion. But if I stopped for 5 minutes, I'm losing it.
No. It's always there.
So everything.
Yeah, I'm not that. I can get a tune out of any instrument you hand me. I won't be proficient at it, but I can make something happen. Like,
Are we at Prince level or where are we at?
no,
Where are we at?
no. Prince is one of my all-time idols, but I'm nowhere near there. I actually have a Prince tattoo, but
What? Is it Prince or is it the symbol?
it's the artwork from the "When Doves Cry" single, and it's. Have you seen the movie Purple Rain?
Absolutely.
It's the eyes and the face on the. It's painted on his bedroom wall in Purple Rain.
I will have to go back and look that one up because I'm not fully sure. But
it's just the two eyes and then the mouth and like
so
the
I
little
will.
nose. So.
I don't know if I've ever admitted to this one here. One of the few songs that I can sing from start to finish, and I will not do it on here. Maybe if I do a Patreon and people pay enough, I'll do it one day.
Mm-hmm.
I can sing "Darling Nikki" from
Nice.
start to finish, almost verbatim. And it's been a little while since I've done it. Even the backwards part at the end, which I still to this day have never looked up to see what he actually says.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
yeah, he's one of those. I mean, it's just. I actually just went through a huge Prince period. Well, he was one of my first, like pre-Beatles. Like I used to literally have. I wish I still had it because it would be worth $1 zillion. But I had all of the Purple Rain singles on
purple vinyl.
45. Yeah,
Yes.
in a little Care Bears carrying case that I used to carry around.
I'm being harassed at this moment, Ryan. I apologize. My cat
That's okay.
is like at my feet and he's like keeps scratching my leg like you gonna pick me up. And then every time I go to pick him up, he's like, nah, asshole, not today.
No,
I
that's
just
fine.
want to
I'm a
keep
cat
touching
guy.
it. So every time I look away, I'm not like ignoring you like fuck him. I'm not listening to
Oh
this
no, no,
shit.
no, you're fine. But yeah,
But
I just went through another big Prince period, and like it's astonishing. Like it's on
the
one
dude's
hand,
unreal.
it's like extremely inspiring, because it's like if you even attempt it, like if Prince is the point on your horizon that you want to get to, you're never gonna fucking get there. But the fact that you're even gonna try is probably gonna lead you down some cool roads.
Right. You'll get somewhere if you
Right.
can at least get to that point.
Yeah.
My wife just came down to save us from the cat. If you're watching live and you saw her head just kind of like zip by. Oh, look, there
Oh,
she is again.
hello.
See, look, she can't hear you at this point, Ryan. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is Luna, and he's like, he's very into. I have two asshole black cats that are just like every so often he was like just stretching out like, Dad, let me get this nail into your leg. I know you're trying to talk to somebody, but let's see what I can do for you. But yeah, it's like so Prince is probably where you talked about albums that made a difference. I
Hmm.
was just thinking about that. But I had like weird ones like Scorpion made
Hmm.
a difference. Obviously I said Counting Crows definitely was an impactful. But do you feel like as a musician, what is that? So I know and this makes sense as in my normal life, I do staffing. So when I hear other people talk anything that's of a I hate to say sales because I don't really do sales. That's not what I do. I don't sell anything.
Hmm.
But when I hear people communicating professionally, I nitpick it.
Right.
I don't mean to, but that's something I have a passion for. And as podcaster, I'm, and I've been doing this for a while, and I have a real close friend that does it. Um, we call him the Podfather. He's been doing it for 12 years. I know he does it to me, and I listen to him when he talks about that. As a musician, when you're hearing, can you listen to other albums and not feel like, oh, well, you fucking missed that note. I can hear it right here. Oh, there it is. Who the hell is editing your shit out? That's horrible. How dare like do you ever find yourself doing that?
That's a great question, actually. I For a long time it was really difficult for me to do that, and it kind of made me like, I don't want to say not like music, but like you can't intellectualize something that's emotion based and enjoy it for long, you
Oh
know.
wow.
So I sort of compartmentalized it, and like I know now where like if I want to put something on, like it's almost like homework. Like if we're about to do a record or whatever, and there's probably 10 records that I'll listen to in a cycle that sonically live in my head all the time, to where there are certain aspects that like I don't ever want to rip anybody off. But like your inspirations are going to be your springboards. They're not going to be your blueprint.
Okay.
Um, but then so in those instances, yes, I will listen for production. I'll listen for drum sounds or hi-hat sounds, or how the guitars are doing this or that. But I've really, probably in the last 5 years, like really been able to like, okay, I'm going to put this on and I'm just going to enjoy it, and I'm going to listen to it. And if something jumps out at me, like about 3 or 4 years ago now, I got really into Peter Gabriel, and so is
I
one of
got
the
to give you this.
greatest
Hold
albums.
on. You get this. I love Peter Gabriel.
Me too. Yeah,
In
and
your eyes, the light.
um,
God. That's another one.
mhm.
Do you know how mind blowing it was to me when somebody said, Peter Gabriel used to be the lead singer of Genesis? I was like, get the what? Like that to me was like this mind boggling thing that it wasn't Phil Collins. Newsflash, folks, if you didn't know that it wasn't always Phil Collins, it was
Yeah,
Peter Gabriel.
yeah,
And
those records are killer, man.
a- and that goes back to, and I don't mean to cut you off. I have to
No,
I
you're
have to
fine.
ask you this question. So what the hell's the name of the song?
Salisbury Hill.
Up on Salisbury Hill.
Hmm.
Do you know what that's about?
Yeah, it's about him leaving Genesis.
Yes.
Mhm.
When it was like a Casey Kasem type thing I was listening to, and they were like, yeah, like that has nothing to do with him finding God and having like this religious moment, a
Mhm.
spiritual moment. It was just like, hey, should I leave the band Genesis and go out and do this on my own, or am I making a bad decision? And when you know that,
Mhm.
and then go back and listen to that song, you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
This just lost, like it went from something that like, Pastor, I'm back in church now because I listened to Peter Gabriel, up on Salisbury Hill, and it really felt like, this really opened up my heart. God's talking to me. And then you're
Mhm.
like, nah, he just couldn't decide if he wanted to leave the band Genesis or not. And you're like, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Asshole. Like,
just such a genius, though.
he
Like,
really is.
yeah. And the way I got into him is I have a really good friend who he's in the music business, and he's always telling me bands to listen to and stuff. And we were talking about early Genesis one day, and like I knew the record's okay, but I hadn't really gotten super into him, so I put him on, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. My main, I mean, this is we could go off on a nerdy tangent here,
Nerd
but
away.
my main
I spend
problem
a lot of
was
money on comic books. Nerd away on music. I'm listening. And I had an
my
uncle that I grew up with that was a Berkeley graduate in music. And the reason I always pick on bass players because he was a bass player
nice.
and had me backstage at James Brown concerts and had me like helping him out with music. And I still have right there the band tattoo,
Oh, nice.
which was a Cocapelli, and the band was Tom Wright and the Rainmakers. Tom is not my uncle, but Tom was the lead singer, but it was Tom Wright and the Rainmakers.
Nice.
So I nerd away. I told you I can't play music,
Right.
but
No,
I love everything about it.
I was just gonna say my main problem with Genesis is their keyboard player. Like he just plays over everything. So I was listening to those records and I was like, wait a sec. Peter Gabriel has all these solo records. Let me check those out. And so I went in order and I was just like, each one was just like, oh my God. And then like the next one was like, holy crap. And then the one right before, so his first four solo records are all called Peter Gabriel, but
Oh, I didn't know
Peter
that.
Gabriel 4. Yeah, they're all the same. Same title. Uh, but that one is just mind blowing. And then when I got to So, it was like so I have a number of favorite records that I call my favorite album of all time, even though like there's like 10 of them. And they're all non-Beatles category because the Beatles are kind of always on the top for me. But So is one of them, and it's because like it's the point I think in his career where um, the ambition met the execution, you know.
Oh wow.
And that's where like all of my favorite records I feel are like that. Like I'm a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, and my other favorite record of all time is Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and that is definitely the ambition meeting the execution. The
Like I
Wall
wish I
is
had a
another one of
pen
those.
to write some of. So you've had ambition meets the execution, which I really want to write down. I could train off of that. Like I could train people to do what I do using that phrase, ambition meets execution.
Mm-hmm.
That is a phenomenal phrase.
Oh,
And
thank you.
the other one was intellect over emotion. Don't use intellect. What'd you say earlier? You said earlier it was something like
Oh,
um judging the music by intellect over emotion or something like that.
something like I can't remember.
But either one of those two lines, like you could use those for life related, you know, ambition and execution and intellect and emotion, understanding the two of them. Got Ryan, we might go off into some other bullshit here in a minute, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
those are two. So now I think I already know the answer to this. So one catalog you're bringing home with you. This
Mm-hmm.
is the desert, the proverbial that we all get, the desert island where we get to bring so many singular things. I gotta love my wife. I just said I wish I had a pen and a piece of paper, and here
Mm-hmm.
comes my wife with a pad of paper here. And,
Oh.
and But look, and then she's got a mask on. I don't understand. I have a beautiful wife that, for some godforsaken reason, has a Black Panther mask on. Um, I'm writing this down. Emotion. Oh, we lost Ryan. I don't know what happened there. Emotion and execution. He'll be back here in a second. I know everybody always comes back to the bar. I think maybe he had to go do a pee break or something like that. For those of you that are listening right now, my listening to us live on YouTube and Twitch, make sure you're checking out. Make sure you take a moment and you check out at Sound and Shape on, and it's the word "and" on all the different social media that's out there, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Facebook, with whatever that is. Make sure you take the time, go follow them, go look them up. We don't know the date of the new album, but we dropped it here first. That the name of the album is Disaster Medicine, and
Yeah,
obviously,
and we do know the date of the single,
but we do know the date of the single, which is November
November
15th.
5th.
5th. I'm sorry. 5th November. See, I almost fucked that up too. November 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be when Sugar the Pill drops,
Yep.
which hope you'll have to remind us. We'll put that on all of our stuff too when we're allowed to, because I kind of got access to it, folks. A little bit. We'll go ahead and make that happen. But we had emotion and execution and intelligence. See, my wife is so great. Intelligence.
Is when ambition
Emotion.
meets execution.
That's it. See, I had them. Ambition meets execution. See, that's such a great. See, I love things like that, because it really, that's what, when you hit that perfect point, and we've all heard it with different artists, whether you're an athlete and you see them on the field doing their craft, whether it be you as a musician and you play the song that changes, everything for you. Your Wild Stallions moment, Bill and Ted reference. You have your Wild
Yeah.
Stallions moment, or anybody in any profession when they hit that ambition meets execution moment. It really is an unstoppable force.
Right.
I love that. So now I got to ask though, and like I said, I think I know your desert island uh catalog of music, that, like, hey, you got the and it's always so great. You're on a desert island. You only get to have one food. Well, fuck, I'm just gonna eat. Can't do anything else. But who's your?
Yeah.
I think I know who your artist is. Who's your artist that you're listening to? Hey, look, there's enough of a music catalog here. This is what I'm doing.
That's a toughie. I mean, my first instinct, of course, is to say the Beatles.
Right. I thought that's what you were gonna say.
But that catalog is so in my DNA. Like, I could probably just close my eyes and listen to the records in my head. I mean, I've been listening to them. I'm going to be 40, and since I was in first grade, so that's
Long enough.
30. Yeah, long time. I don't want to do the math. That's too long. But yeah, no, that's probably, yeah, I'd probably still have to say the Beatles, because that's kind of one of the great things about music is, like, yeah, I've listened to those records a billion times, but, like, there's always some nuance I'm going to notice. There's always some new thing I'm going to hear. And especially, like, George Martin's son Giles has been remixing all the later period Beatles stuff, and they sound so fucking insanely good.
Hold on. I know
Mhm.
George Martin. Who's George Martin?
He was the Beatles producer.
See, I'm learning. See, for me, it's Bowie. It's Bowie.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
I could sit down with Bowie's library of music and never get bored. And a lot of it has to do with, and it's sort of like you said, early 2000s when you started, you were in that, like, everybody was adding weird sounds to their music, and say, it was post grunge, how can we be odd but people will listen to us, we're expressing ourselves, because I still stand by that late 60s, early 70s, and then skip forward to early 90s, mid 90s music, or in the last 100 years, that's two of the greatest decades of music.
Oh yeah.
Obviously the 50s are going to be there because it creates rock and roll, but
Hmm.
those 2 decades in particular have changed. Like, I was listening to Violent Femmes and um, God, God, I can't even think of half the shit that we were listening to. Peter Murphy and
Hmm.
who's the other one? Elvis Costello, and you were like, who the hell are you listening to? And then
Yeah,
all
no,
of a
I'm a
sudden now
huge
everybody's like,
Elvis Costello fan.
only guy it's not allowed back. Well, I shouldn't say only, but one only played Saturday Night Live once and is never allowed back on Saturday Night Live again. Did you know that?
Yeah, no, he's yeah, because he stopped that show and broke into Radio.
Yep.
But yeah, no, he's a huge influence of mine. A lot of people say my voice sounds a lot like him.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen again because that's a pretty big compliment in my book. Like that's a
Oh yeah,
that's a huge one. But
yeah.
like I said, because you know what? So I'm horrible at remembering anything music related.
Hmm.
I love music. I promise you, I will sit at my desk and I go, okay, okay, Google. Let's see if this fucks up anybody's Google. Okay, Google, play Rolling Stones. If you're listening to this and your Google just went off, I'm going to do this now. Okay, Siri, subscribe me to the Above the Bar podcast. Let's see if that shit works too. But I I I'm trying to remember the name of the band. God, and here's why. So I love Anthony Bourdain. Are you a
Oh
cooking
yeah,
fan?
yeah, yeah.
He's my spirit animal.
Hmm.
Got it. Because when I was first listening to your stuff, the first thing that came to mind to me was because he did an entire episode with the lead singer, who's actually a scientist, like legit, like doctorate in like, hey, do that funky thing, mighty fly for a white guy. God, I
Oh, the
can't think.
Offspring.
Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
That I got an Offspring vibe from your guys' music.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that before.
It was the way the guitar was being. Is it well? You play the lead guitar, right?
Hmm.
It was something about the guitar gave me this very desert Offspring kind of vibe where I was like, oh, I'm digging this. Like this is, I could sit down next to a campfire and chill and listen to this no problem. Very that kind of a vibe.
Hmm.
Never heard that before.
No, no.
Fuck it then. It's bullshit. I'm lying. I don't know what.
No, it always cracks me up when the bands people compare us to because like who was it? Um, I think it was our last EP or something. I sent a friend of mine and he was like, "Yeah, the first song sounds like Iron Maiden," and I was like, "No, it
Really?
doesn't." Yeah, it's like it certainly does not. And
I was about to say has like there's nothing in any of your music because I listened to a few different songs.
mhm,
I was actually sitting down with my son who's 25, and we were listening to some music, and he was like, "I'm digging that. I can get down with
nice,
this." And
nice.
I never heard an Iron Maiden vibe. Can you get your voice that high?
No, 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 no. I think it was the guitars because there was a like a guitar, twin guitar lead kind of thing.
Okay, I'll give
Yeah,
you that. I mean, maybe something like that, but like again, Iron Maiden, it's the lead singer's voice.
yeah, exactly.
That that's one of those things. Like, is there anything in your sound that like, hey, I'm listening to Sound of Shape. I mean, because obviously, Ryan, you've been there. You're the one that's that we were talking about that you were been there since the inception. Is there anything about it other than that piece? And now with Pat and Ben that have changed that sound to say this is more of the signature sound.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think. I mean, to me, like as a songwriter, and to totally rip off a Noel Gallagher quote, your music. He's one of my favorites too. Like your music is a product of your record collection. So there's a lot of bands out there, and a lot of bands will probably get very angry at me for saying this, but like they take very obvious pieces of the bands that they like to the point where it's very obvious who they like, who they're listening to, the world they want to be in. Whereas for me, I've never been interested in, at the risk of sounding pretentious, I've never been interested in fitting into anybody's sort of category musically, which has both hurt and helped us at certain times. Like for a long time, we heard from labels like, "Yeah, this is great, but we don't know how to market this. Like, what kind of rock band are you?" And it's like, "We're just a rock band." It's like, no, 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 no. But what kind of rock band?
Right.
We're a rock band. We play rock and roll music with guitars, and that's what it is. And so for me, like, I think it's my goal every record is to expand in all directions. So the heavier stuff to be heavier, the prettier stuff to be prettier, the melodic stuff to be more melodic. So I take all the stuff that I like about my favorite bands and artists and writers and stuff and sort of funnel it through my filter, and it comes out into whatever this is now. And I think what I've gotten better at is refining that and adding more and more of like my own sense to it, you know.
Hmm.
And having played with these two guys for a few years now, also like I can kind of hear where they're going to go with something. Um, so sometimes that will dictate like what I'm doing. It's like, oh, I know Ben's just going to rip this part of the song. So like, got to give him a spot right there. So um, yeah, probably the biggest change is like refining the way I do it, but always sort of widening the scope.
I, just hearing the way the process works for you is pretty impressive to me because you can it's almost like hearing an artist, like a painter with his brushstrokes, like how he's going to plan his brushstrokes. It's very interesting to me because, like I said, to me this has always been impressive. Anyone who could play music, anyone who had that talent to play music, nothing against anyone who's a painter or anything like that, but that type of art can be very subjective. We have, you have so many. It's similar to music, so many genres of artists. You have the Hudson Valley stuff, you have the modernist, you have the Victorian, you have all these different eras. But music seems like we're always pulling back from other eras to
Mm-hmm.
to add to, oh look, that, oh yeah, I know that's classical, but let me use that again because now we're going to
Right.
sample a piece of that music and we're going to use it again into something else and we'll create a new piece of music off of that. Or you know worst one of my favorite bands, worst concert I've ever been to is Metallica. I say it all the time. Horrible concert. The Saint Whatever album, it was horrible.
Oh yeah.
And then as soon as they played classic Metallica, everybody loved it. But at the same time, I love the Metallica S&M album, which
Mm-hmm.
with the San Francisco Philharmonic and playing that music. And that's that same, let me grab from instruments that should not be involved traditionally in heavy metal music. But when you realize how heavy those instruments can be and how much power's behind them, you can have a power chord all you want. When you hear somebody banging through, we joked about a bass player. Your bass can be as strong as it wants to, but when you hear a cello really get that whoop, 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 whoop,
Oh
whoop,
yeah.
whoop, 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 and you start thinking about Pork Soda from, and you're like, that's that sound. I know that sound. This is
Yeah.
Primus Pork Soda. Whoop, 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 whoop. It's that same kind of a sound. Um, Folks, sound and shape, every social media that you could think of, take a moment, go follow them on social media, go look them up, start anticipating. And now the song Sugar the Pill,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to drop on. Now if somebody wanted to find that, they're going to find that where? On November 5th.
On November 5th, yeah, you can pre-save now. Like if you go to our Instagram, there's a link where you can, or at our Facebook, you can pre-save on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Tidal, all those places.
So Amazon, Facebook, Spotify,
Apple Music.
Apple Music, local
Mm-hmm.
YMCA, Boys and Girls Club,
Yeah.
um,
The Five and
anywhere you
Dime.
anywhere you think of, GameStop. If you ask the kid behind the counter that's been there for the last 17 years, at the GameStop, no, I'm kidding. But it's phenomenal, folks. If you haven't heard this music yet, you have to go listen to it. It really is that good, strong guitar, and it's just the three of them. You know,
Mhm.
we all grew up with three-piece bands, lead guitar, bass player, and drummer. That's what we all grew up in. If you're of my age group, in your early 20s, 22, 23
Mhm.
plus some. We all grew up with that, and that's what we enjoyed. That was the type of music we enjoyed. So make sure you're going and you're checking that out. Uh, Sound and Shape, every bit of social media, brother. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I
Same.
listened to all of it. I had a great time. Like I said, I sat down with my 25-year-old because that was my litmus test. Was
Mhm.
let me sit down with this kid who has definitely different taste than I do. Like I said, I say to my Google, I'm like, okay, Google, play Rolling Stones, and I'm listening to Rolling Stones and the band and that type of music, and then a moment later, I'll turn around and go, okay, Google, play gangster rap, and I'm listening to Too Short and uh, some NWA and my musical taste, and my sons are not that way. I think that's part of who we were in the 90s.
Mhm.
Um, we were kind of like handed everything you could think of, from Biggie to Tupac to NWA, and then turn around and like you said, Smashing Pumpkins, Screaming Trees. Actually, we had Neon Trees back then too. That was another band from back then, and we were handed totally different music, And at no point did anyone ever tell us, "Well, you must be into this music," because
Right.
the goth kids were next to the grunge kids, and we all listened to everything,
Mhm.
because it was just good music back then. The
Yeah.
90s was so much better than today. This mumble rap shit drives me nuts. Like, I don't even understand what these guys are saying. So, any upcoming tour dates, anywhere where anybody can see you live,
uh, Not anything to announce at the moment, but
other
keep
than the
your
local
eyes.
restaurant in Nashville?
What's up?
If they come into the restaurant, if they can figure out what restaurant you're in Nashville, Ryan,
I actually
and
don't
they
work
say
there
to you,
anymore.
"Huh?
Actually, I actually don't work there anymore.
Oh God, where are you at now?
I actually am an account manager for a wholesale bakery.
Damn it!"
Mhm.
If they can figure out what wholesale bakery that you work in, and they walk in and they go belly up to the bar, will you
Mhm.
sing them a song?
I'll give them a bagel.
You will look at that. If you can figure out where in Nashville Ryan works at, and you can find Ryan and you say belly up to the bar, he will give you a bagel. I
Yep,
have no idea if that's really going to happen.
I can
Listen,
do
you
it.
don't harass that man at work.
All right.
Don't mess with that man at work. He got an 8-year-old. He's trying to pay bills. Don't mess with that man.
An expensive 8-year-old.
Look, look, every one of them is expensive.
Mm.
Um, we've said it many times on the show. Between my wife and I, we have 8 children that range from, yeah, look at how big his eyes got. They range from age 4 to age 27 or 28, I think is the oldest. I can't remember how old he is anymore. So we cover all bases there. So yeah, they never get any cheaper.
Yep.
Trust me.
Yep.
So uh I will tell you this, Ryan, do not log off after we get done closing this, because I got to talk to you about something here in a moment.
Okay.
As always. Uh Here, one more time. I want to play this one more time for those of you that are still listening. Here we go. One more time. So one more time, it's a little bit of a taste. I know you want to hear the rest of it. So make sure on November 5th you're out there. You check out all of Sugar the Pills social media, all those kind of things. And you go and look at Ryan, you're muted, just so you know. Uh, and you go and you check these guys out, and you make sure you pre-download. I like that you can pre-download um, all their different stuff. But as always, Ryan, one of the biggest things we always do here at the bar is the guest who bellies up to the bar gets the final word. So, what is your final word for tonight?
Hmm. Just be kind to one another and take care of everybody you can.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.